right.
He's on his way.
Okay, it looks like we have a quorum. So when you're not speaking, if you can keep yours muted, it might cut down on the background noise. I'll try to click mine off if anybody's talking very long to try to help with that as well. So it's 7:04. We can go ahead and call the meeting to order. Alan, were you able to track the roll as I went through, or do you want to call again?
I was able to track the roll, yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do we have any correspondence this month?
We do. Let me see if I can pull those together real quick. I know there is a correspondence from the, I don't want to guess. I don't want to do that.
Hang on one second, Alan. Does someone have a radio or a TV playing in their background? A bunch of feedback, Ross, from something. Okay, go ahead, Alan. I apologize.
Correspondence from the, I don't want to guess. Getting a lot of feedback in here. There's another computer going on.
Alan, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, it's got a microphone. Yeah.
Okay, correspondence for the meeting. We had a correspondence come back from the White House. Dear Altamont Unit 10, thank you so much for your $30 memorial honoring Roy Cochran. Your donation on October 13th, 2020 will assist in preserving the rich history of the Dr. Charles M. Wright House Museum. The Wright House property is a non-for-profit organization under Section 501c3 of the IRA Code and did not provide any goods or services in consideration for this donation. With the generous support of people like you, the historic 1889 Dr. Wright House Museum will continue to tell the history of the Wright family and the history of Altamont. Sincerely, Linda Schmidt. We've got one more also. Oh, what a year it has been. Thank you for all your support this year. Sending you warm wishes for the great holiday season from our OPA family to yours, OPA Food Management Incorporated. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you very much, Alan. Next item will be our pause for applause. And I have one to read. We have a picture of Jonah Jansen, a student in Mrs. Splector's third grade class, is raising money to help kids in foster care with Christmas presents. He's selling hot chocolate at his home on Main Street and giving the money to the Caritas Family Solutions. Can you all see his picture? All right, Mr. Millville.
Shelley, I don't have mine pulled up, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I'll be happy to read it. Let's see. From our trap shooting coach, we have 3 medals to be given to Adriana Harris with the highest average in our conference female, Dalton Stein, 2nd place for overall average for our conference, and Sierra Hankins, 3rd place overall average female. Our team of 10 got 3rd out of 5 teams in our conference. We had 2 6th graders and 1 7th graders, and the rest are in high school. We need to get, that was a note from Don Williamson, our coach. As a side note, we're going to have them come and get medals at our next board meeting, but we wanted to go ahead and honor them this month. We need to get, that was a note from Don Williamson, our coach. As a side note, we're going to have them come and get medals at our next
Mrs. Coons, before we move forward, I have a few public comments to read. I was asked to read whenever you're ready. Mrs. Coons, before we move forward, I have a few public comments to read. I was asked to read whenever you're ready. Mrs. Coons, before we move forward, I have a few public comments to read. I was asked to read.
That's what it was. The live stream was playing on yours.
Okay. Thank you, Ross. You and Mrs. Grimsley are invaluable.
Thank you. How's that?
Oh, that's heaven. That is heaven.
Much better. Okay, whenever you're ready, I just have a few public comments.
Yes, please. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, public comment number one, and these are from our staff. I strongly support a principal and an assistant principal in both buildings. An assistant principal helps with student management and discipline, student activities, staff support, professional development, as well as building supervision. Most of what an assistant principal does is behind the scenes and ensures that our building runs smoothly. Second comment. The current salary that is paid to the high school principal is not an average salary of a principal in a school our size, so a new principal will cost the district less money. Final comment. Before there is thought in reducing the number of principals in the district, there should be careful consideration given to the amount of money Altamont is paying for technology positions. First of all, both positions are being paid more than our assistant principals. The county districts that compare to our size have either no technology positions paid because teachers or principals are absorbing their duties, or they're paying one position. I really think our children and teachers will benefit if we keep all four administrative positions. If it is the money that is the driving force, then please consider the above information. Thank you.
Did either of those people wish to leave their names or something so that we can reply?
They did not.
Okay. All right. Any further information from the public that we need to address before we move into the agenda? All right, seeing none, then we need to consider the consent agenda, which is the approval of minutes from the November 9th regular meeting and the December 2nd special meeting, as well as the November district financial reports. Are there questions or concerns? Remember to unmute your microphone if you have a comment.
I was absent last meeting, so I guess I'll abstain because the minutes I wasn't present. I did read the minutes, but I was not present at the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, concerns, or corrections? If there are none, I'd like a maker of a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'm looking at Mr.
I move we
President.
approve the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Mr.
I'll
Lowry.
second it, Shelley.
All right. So, Alan, we have Mr. Lau made the motion and Mr. Melville seconded.
Yep, I got those. So we'll do the roll call. Shoemaker, I heard you abstain, so I'll take that. Feldkamp,
Yes.
Lau,
Yes.
Coleman, yes. Coons, Shelley, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Melville?
Yes.
Yep, I got Wolf.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried 6-0.
Sorry about that. I think sometimes there's a little bit of a lag. All right, reports. We will start at the, let's see. Let's do the extracurriculars. Mrs. Beaker, Mr. Biggs. Either of you want to speak to us? Yeah, let's start with you, Chris.
Am I unmuted?
I hear you.
Okay, all right, perfect.
I don't have a ton of things on here. Of course, everybody knows sports are still on hold, so we're still waiting and waiting and waiting. Right now, basically, coaches can do 15 minutes at a time per athlete. Our coaches at this point aren't doing a whole lot at the junior high. They might if this continues. Also, for later in the meeting, I have a couple things for cheer. We did have our cheer coach move out of state. So we have a letter of resignation from her, and then basically who was volunteering, bump up to recommend to hire her in replacement. Knock on wood. I don't know if there's any wood around here, but for whatever reason, it's been pretty quiet at the grade school. We had on PBIS referrals, 3 minors, 7 majors. We have given actually no after-school detentions or suspensions this last month. Have a few bus write-ups, but nothing major on that. Attendance dropped a little bit. Of course, with all the COVID stuff, our attendance is down a little bit, 95.9. Do have a lot of kids that we don't normally have with a bunch of absences. So we have 52 kids with 5 or more, and then 19 of those are actually 10 or more. And talked to Leslie, and there's probably about 3 or 4 of those that we're kind of worried about. Rest of them have been just COVID stuff and maybe out with just on quarantine, basically. We actually still have 131 students though with perfect attendance, which is awesome. And then we had last meeting, which I wasn't there, the VOLO discussion of dropping it. And I think there was discussion on seeing what we do besides the VOLO. So I attached our current updated crisis plan on there that we did, I don't know, a couple of years ago that teachers want condensed, more of a working form than a whole workbook of that. So that's what I have on my report.
Any questions or concerns for Mr. Biggs? All right, if none, we'll move on to Ms. Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I was wrong. You want to go ahead, Doug?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I hear you.
Okay, very good. Evaluations are ongoing as much as they are for this year. I finished the non-certified staff this week, and I'll be turning those in here in the next day or so. Winter maps testing is going on right now, and again, it's going to be interesting to see the results from the first maps test since last winter. I am going to, I do have a math teacher for the junior high recommendation for this meeting, and he would be ready to begin on January 4th. We're at 29 remote learners, most of them on medical. And then I gave you a mid-year COVID update as well, which as far as it looks pretty good for us. The teachers and students are doing a great job of being responsible in these times and wearing the masks and being distant. And for those numbers over a half a year, they're good. And that's all I had.
All right, news is good news. We appreciate that.
Peggy's having trouble unmuting. I don't know if she's going to re-enter or what she's going to try, but she's having trouble getting in.
Okay. I think, is there a mechanism for her to call in?
Might be.
I got it now.
Oh, Peggy's there. All right.
Welcome, Peggy.
All right, sorry about that. I couldn't get myself unmuted. So my report, attendance is holding pretty steady at 94%. All things considered with our quarantine students, that's pretty good. We're not too far from last year's number as far as percentage in December. Disciplines this last month we didn't add a whole lot. It stayed pretty much the same on the major for the out of school stayed at 5. Activity wise, just like Chris said, we're still in pause for our winter sports. The IHSA had their meeting today, and just like we expected, the winter sports start day has not been determined, so it's to be announced yet. They're waiting to get approval and something from IDPH of movement from them. They're hoping to talk with them late December, early January, and then make a decision about setting a schedule for winter basketball. And then another thing that they spoke a little bit about today that concerns us is contact days may be reinstated for our non-winter sports seasons. So soccer, volleyball, things like that would happen in the spring and summer. They're talking about adding some contact days once we get out of tier 3 for the COVID mitigation that the governor has us under right now. Some of our coaches are setting up a schedule for one-on-one work, which you are allowed to do, but that's on just a per individual basis, and letting the student athletes kind of sign up for when they want to do that. Pretty quiet this week just because of it being exam week at the high school. Yearbook, the winter sports pictures, we took them on Thursday. Some of them we might need to retake. They didn't turn out that great, but then we took some individual shots in the hopes that Ross and our streaming team will use the individual pictures for the video streaming that we hopefully get to do because we have a season. And I mentioned that in my report. Student council listed the things that they've been busy doing. And they continue to be very active in a time when there's not a lot of things going on, recognizing students who are going above and beyond to help somebody out. It's neat to see that our high school kids are, one, that they're getting recognized, but they're doing it without expecting to get recognized. So again, our student council is doing a good job. FCA, they're still meeting weekly, and they donated to the Lutheran Care Center for the residents, along with the FCCLA. And both of those organizations ran through Mrs. Sherry Schaefer, our FACS teacher. So then later, maybe in the meeting, we'll talk about the possibility or where we want to go if we're going to allow outside people use our gym. I don't know if you want to discuss that now or if that's later in the agenda, so we'll just hold off on that. So if you have questions about that. Otherwise, that's it for me.
Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. I want to say that to both of you activity directors that put those lists together, thank you. In a time when it feels like absolutely nothing's happening in society and in the world, it felt really great to see all that our students are doing. That's really exciting. Kudos to our staff and teachers and everyone that's making opportunities for our kids to keep learning and growing. It was impressive. Mr. Hill. Oh, we already had yours, Mr. Kachuk. Oh, you're muted, Jerry. Oh, can't hear you, Jerry. Okay, we can come back in a little bit. Okay, let's move on to the Finance Committee report, and then we'll come back to Dr. Mehrhofer and Mr. Kachuk. Carrie or Dave, are you both on pretty good? Let me speak to one of you.
Yeah, if you want me to start, I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, very good. And most of you, I sent a copy out of the proposal between Stiefel and First Mid-State. As you can see, the cost is for their fees are considerably different. If we public sale our bonds, roughly First Mid's going to be somewhere around 114,000, where Stiefel's is going to be 153,000. So that's why Carrie and I and Dr. Merhoff are kind of recommending we go on the First Mid. They've really done a good job of presenting their program, and Dave does a nice job when you talk to him. He answers the questions in a way that you can understand them. So that's why we've decided to go with this with the First Mid-State. So we'll need to pass the resolution to hire First Mid-State and also their bonding agent. Forget their name right now. What is it, Carrie? Do you remember?
Oh,
It is, Chaplin and Cutler.
yes.
And then the unknown is the interest rate. We don't know what that's going to be. More likely, they probably will not go out for bid till probably in January sometime because of the holidays. So we really don't know what that's going to be, but it's going to be a savings for the district. Hopefully they sell as many as they can privately. That saves quite a bit of cost, as you've seen. But they'll probably have a mixture. The way they figure it probably work will be a mixture of private and public sale. So like I said, it's going to save the district. You know, we don't know for sure, but somewhere in that $800 to $1 million, depends on what the bonds sell out at. Carrie, if you want to add anything, take on questions.
I was just going to add, remember what the purpose here is. The purpose is to issue these new bonds in order to refund our bond series from 2011 and 2015, so that we can drop the interest rate that we're paying and save the district a substantial amount of money. And like Dale said, the unknown is what will the bond market be doing come January when we're going out there. We're committing to do this, but we're not committing to, how's the right way to say that, Dale? The deal's being put together, but if the interest rates come in and they flash way higher than what we currently are, we don't have to actually sell bonds.
Right. So
So the
seems to
action
be a
tonight is-
win-win.
So the action that we're going to get to later in old business is to authorize them to do this. It doesn't commit us to the sale.
That is correct. It commits us to the process, but when you get down to the final end, if interest rates have changed so much that's no longer advantageous, we don't have to we don't have to go through with the actual sale.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the Finance Committee? Thank you, gentlemen, for doing this. Does anyone have any input on this? Okay.
No input for me, Shelley. I just want to say thank you as well. Appreciate you guys' time on doing that.
And the other thing
All right.
that I talked about earlier is the fact that we will start paying down interest on the 2015 bonds. Right now, we're just paying interest. We will start paying down principal once we get refinanced. So that's part of the savings there too. But instead of just paying interest for several more years, this way we're paying principal. So it's kind of makes me feel better anyway.
So there's no chance of the fees outriding the savings. I mean, somehow or other, at the end of the day, whether we go for all of the restructure or not, we're going to come out ahead as far as the savings goes.
Yes, that's correct, Alan. The only way, and then like Carrie said, that, you know, if something happens in January, that bond interest rates go through the roof, you know, then we'll have to pull back. At this point, as long as everything stays good with the economy and we keep moving along, it should be somewhere in the area we are now, I would think. But it's a crystal ball we don't really have.
I can understand that you won't know what the savings will be. I was just concerned that we'd get hit with a bunch of fees and then have no savings, but that won't happen. I mean, we're going to save one way or the other before we pull out or whatever.
That's the way we understand it. That's correct. But we will confirm that before we send the papers in, but that's the way we were told.
Okay.
We will ask the question again.
Okay. I'm all for it if it saves us money.
So that's all we
Nothing
have.
else from-
Shelley.
Okay. Darren Feldkamp, did you get ready to say something a while ago and we missed you?
I just want to tell the guys thanks. I know that's been a burden that I've felt since I've been on the board at Bond Rate. The time you guys have put in and the hard work is very much appreciated. I want you to know that.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else on that at this time, it's back up now. Mr. Kachuk is ready to go.
So just a few things. Alan and Mr. Coleman, I'm going to have to ask you to add item I to new business off the report. I just need the board's approval. We've had Angie Meadows, formerly Angie Caraway. She's a graduate, working here as an aide for the last 3.5 weeks or so, helping us, our special ed teachers, particularly with the distance learning kids that we have, and she's been invaluable. So I'm sorry, I missed that on the main agenda. I looked at it Friday and I didn't call anybody. I should have. So if we could just add that, that'd be great. The SAT data, since we didn't take it in the spring, they had our seniors who would have taken it last spring take it in the fall. The only thing I'd point out, our high score isn't as high as last year's high score, but our low score isn't as low as last year's low score. And I know Mr. Shoemaker has asked the question before. The only thing I'd really kind of highlight to the board, if you look at the evidence-based reading and writing scores from last year, and then you look at the evidence-based reading and writing scores from 2020, you'll see that we've gone down. And we talked about the fact that reading was going to be the area that was going to see the most impact. In terms of a fair comparison, somebody said it's like apples to oranges because one group took it in the spring and this group took it in the fall. That's really not fair because it's pretty much the same test. So what I've said, if people ask, it's more like comparing a black lab to a chocolate lab. They're both the same dog, except people will tell you that they're not. So it's the same test, but it's not the same kind of test. But anyway, those are the results. As you look through them, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. When we started this semester, there were 44 students that had not completed the minimum coursework requirement from last spring. Thanks to Mrs. Beaker, Mrs. Elam, the teachers, everybody kind of just beating the drum and not giving up. We've knocked that down to 3. And those 3 students understood it, they knew it, and they said they were just going to retake those classes this spring. So we're good to go. We've got everybody who's got their full credit that they needed to get, and those students that didn't get it are willing to do the work again. So kudos to everybody here in the building that got that done. We are concerned about whether or not remote learning should continue. We understand the medical concerns, but we are finding out that our students that are here are being far more successful than our students that are on remote. We're going to wait and see what final exams look like, and if we have that evidence, we might have to have a conversation in January. If it becomes clear that our students on remote, even though they might be getting the work done, are still falling behind in their learning. Final exams are this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Some of our teachers have chosen, because of COVID impact and whatnot, not to give a true comprehensive semester final, but that's okay because we've spent the year focused on 5 essential pillars in each grade level, or in each course, and they're staying focused on that. Number 6, this is just for the board's information. We are looking to bring back speech. Speech used to get an English requirement, which is allowing students to not take the last semester of senior English, which was not a good thing for those going to college. We ended up throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We got rid of the credit, we got rid of the class. Mrs. Elam and Mrs. Aldrich and Mrs. Lurkins are working on developing a semester-long course in social studies that would meet the social studies graduation requirement, pairing that with speech and making those both sophomore requirements, starting with the incoming freshman class, because you can't drop a requirement on kids in the middle of their career. Once the class details are brought forward, I'll have that for the board. This is just to give the board information about what we're talking about in terms of our curriculum. And there's our enrollment. Does anybody have any questions?
don't hear any. Sounds good. Thank you, sir, for all you're doing.
Oh,
Exciting to hear you along.
I just show up.
All right, that leaves us back at Dr. Meyerhofer.
Yes, so as you all know, we have been in session since August uninterrupted. So I just wanted to take a minute during my communication report this month just to provide a huge thank you and shout out to our faculty, our staff, students, and administrative team on a awesome job. Well done. They took the back to school plan, owned it. I walk the halls every day. I've heard very minimal complaints over the entire first semester. People are just happy to be back in school. And I just wanted to say I am one proud superintendent on a job well done. So nice work. The other piece for this month that I wanted to share, as I have been, are the OPA numbers. And so just real quickly, just to update the board, in terms of meals served at our high school, those numbers went up just about just under 80% meals served at our high school here for the month of November. And they took a slight dip at our grade school. They're still over the 70% mark. And then just to remind the board, 70% is the state average in terms of meals served at lunchtime in public schools, to 73%. And that brings us to an average overall in our district at 76% for the month of November in terms of meals served. So that's what I have for this month. Any questions?
Not seeing any right now. We will reserve the right to go back to those in a little bit.
Okay.
As far as, facility committee report, Mr. Shoemaker. Is there anything from the facility committee, Mr. Shoemaker?
Sorry, I have nothing. Lost the screen here. I have nothing. So.
Okay, it happens once in a while too, but it gives me a heart attack, but it keeps coming back, so we're doing okay. All right, as far as my report goes, just that the opportunity to run for the board is closing. What is the deadline on that, Mr. Lau? I forgot.
21st of December is the last day you can turn in a petition at the county courthouse.
All right, so you got one more week. If anybody knows anyone interested in running for the board, we'd appreciate their candidacy. We encourage them to go sign up and get a petition and get their 50 signatures and get on the ballot. So always need good members for the board. That's the only thing that I have for this month. So let's move then into old business. Item A, the junior high gymnasium roof. It looks like administration is recommending that we approve the Upchurch group to complete a request for an RFP for immediate release. We need to accept bids to complete the junior high gym roof project, and the estimated cost looks like around $75,000. Gentlemen, are you all seeing that? Do you want to add something, Steve, to that? Did I forget anything?
No, that's all the information. The Upchurch group would prepare the RFP. We would release the RFP, accept bids, and then likely have those bids for the board to review at the February meeting to approve the work to be done on the junior high roof job.
Discussion or a maker of a motion to approve?
I just had one real quick question since we're kind of scattered here. Could we state what the scope of the work is on that project again, just for clarity?
Sure, Carrie. So the scope of the work just essentially entails replacement of a very old and failing roof. It's something that Alan, quite honestly, deserves a lot of kudos for holding together over the past few years. And it's also something that, we applied for in the maintenance grant, and we received partial funding to fund the replacement of that roof. The Upchurch Group has been out since the board approved them as an architectural firm. They have done at least one core sample to this point, and they've started at least some of the preliminary work on it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Which part of the roof are they doing? The rubber roof, I'm assuming?
It is the entirety of the junior high gymnasium roof. It's the gymnasium portion.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would make that motion to proceed with Upchurch Group or the RFP.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion from Mr. Shoemaker to proceed as written and Mr. Wolf to second that.
Okay. Shoemaker,
Yeah.
Feldkamp,
Yes.
Lau,
Yes.
Coleman, yes. Coons,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item B is, we've touched on this briefly earlier, the first Mid-State incorporated an action item as underwriter or placement agent for the general obligation refunding of the school bonds. The Finance Committee is recommending that we approve hiring First Mid-State as our bond agent to complete restructuring our Series 2011 and 2015 bonds. Further questions or discussion for Mr. Lauer or Mr. Wolf? If there's none, is there a motion?
I move that we hire First Mid-State as our underwriter for our bonds.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Shelley.
Thank you, Mr. Melville.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Feldkamp,
Yes.
Lau,
Yes.
Coleman, yes. Coons,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item C, Chapman and Cutler LLP as the Bond Disclosure Council is an action item. The Finance Committee recommends that we approve the hiring of Chapman and Cutler Bond Counsel to complete the restructuring of our Series 2011 and 2015 bonds. Discussion or a motion?
I'd make that motion to hire Chapman and Cutler as our bond disclosure counsel.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion.
I'll
Mr.
second.
Wolf. Thank you, Mr. Feldkamp.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Feldkamp,
Yes.
Lau,
Yes.
Coleman, yes. Coons,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, sir. Item D, the IASB Superintendent Search Update is a discussion item. The discussion that I have for you is that the application process closed today. IASB will now begin to process those applications. I believe we have in the neighborhood of 20. I'm not sure about that number at this point. I haven't talked to him for a few days, but I think that's where we were. They will begin to process those, vet them very heavily, look into them, assess them, and then come back to us. It will probably, actually, it will be the first week in January. Prior to the next board meeting, they'll be calling a meeting with us and giving us their recommendations for those that we might consider to interview. So we're looking at getting that information the first week in January, hopefully beginning the interview process the second week in January. Questions for me on that? All right. Item E is the legislative updates, is a discussion item. Let's see. Anything going on, Steve?
I have nothing to report this month.
I have nothing either. Anyone else concerned about anything in the legislature? What about you, Mr. Wolf? Anything?
Going to add, our great legislature canceled the veto session, so we won't see them in action until the end of January at the earliest.
Okay, thank you. Item F, the AESPA contract negotiations discussion item. Dr. Beerhofer, any update there?
Yes, so Bonnie and Rich are working on a counter proposal. They had some questions and asked to meet with Susan, so they're working to schedule a meeting with her to get some clarification on some items. After that, I expect the board to receive a counter proposal.
Great, thank you. I appreciate you coordinating that. And we appreciate Susan helping us facilitate that, and Bonnie and Rich and that team working with us. So thank you to all of them. Item G, workers' compensation insurance renewal is an action item. The administration is recommending we approve the renewal of our worker compensation insurance through Zenith. There is an increase of 10%, 10.36 or $6,319 above the expiring premium. But even with that increase, we are still experiencing a $24,000 savings compared with last year, if I'm understanding that right. Is that correct, Steve?
When compared to the last year with IPRF, which was the expiring carrier, it is a 10.36% increase, or $6,319 increase from what the premium was for last year. So,
But still a savings, right? Overall.
correct. Significant savings.
Any questions or concerns there, gentlemen?
Steve,
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
do we not have a score that's associated with our workman's comp on what level we're at by the number of claims that we filed is it in a contract time or within a year's time?
Yeah, Darren, we do. We had a recent claim that I know is out there. Outside of that, though, to my knowledge, the district doesn't have any other significant claims on the books.
Okay, so then will our score appropriately go down then without having?
I would expect moving forward that, given the fact that the district has few claims, and knock on wood, moving forward, hopefully we don't have any additional claims, that we could still continue to experience in the years to come a decrease there in terms of our worker compensation insurance.
So then we would see our premium payments go down then subsequently? Okay.
Theoretically.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions or concerns there? All right, if there are no others, is there a maker of a motion to accept that insurance renewal?
I'll make the motion, Shelley.
Thank you, Mr. Feldkamp. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Lau.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Feldkamp,
Yes.
Lau,
Yes.
Coleman, yes. Coons, Melville,
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, sir. Item H, tax levy. I will ask Dr. Mayerhofer to update us on where we're at there.
Okay, so the original tentative levy that was presented, and it's been out there since the October meeting, has us looking at a 5.19% increase in our overall EAV. And that was based on conversation with our assessor's office, which again, I can't say enough good things about in terms of the information that we get from them. It's been very, very accurate. And so that levy is very similar in terms of the numbers that were filed in last year's levy. As I said, with the 5.19% increase. I did meet with Mr. Dale Lau earlier this afternoon. He and I had a very lengthy discussion. We had a follow-up discussion, talked with Mr. Miller, talked with the assessor's office, and did come up with a second scenario or a second alternative. And Mr. Lau, would you like to discuss that briefly with the board? And I sent it to the board this afternoon in an email to consider and to review. And it does bring our total rate up to 4.99, and it goes all the way to a 6% increase in EAV, which was at the very top end of what the assessor recommended. The assessor recommended a 5 to 6% increase is what they anticipate for this year's levy. So that, again, after conversations with Dale and Justin, that goes on sort of the top end of that. But there again, of course, doesn't require us to do a truth in taxation because that window is closed, but stays under that 5% cap. So Dale, would you like to add anything to that?
Well, just one thing, if I don't know if everybody got to see the email or not, but the last year with the assessed valuation levy that you put out, we only received $1.80, $1.82, or almost $1.82, $1.81 of our ed fund. And what my goal was by doing the recalculation was to get our ed fund back to where $1.84 where it should be. That's what's capped at. And this new proposal gets us at $1.83.3. So it gets us closer, but and still stays under the 5% cap, so we don't have to have a truth and taxation hearing. Last year we were short, which cost us some. We didn't get to achieve all of our growth in our EAV. Cost us a few dollars. This year we're trying to stay under the 5, but yet achieve all the new dollars in the expansion. With the farmland assessment going up so much, our EAV is crawling drastically. You know, a 6% raise in our EAV is quite large. So, you know, we need to be able to adjust our rates accordingly. And this one gets us the best bang for the buck and stays under the 5%. If we were going to go over 5%, we'd have had to have that discussion last month to be able to put it out for 30 days for people to look at and then have a hearing tonight. So that's just a different change. But when you stay under the 5%, you have to be a little bit more finesse with your numbers to make sure you capitalize put the money in the right fund so that the rates come out properly, because you can lose the money if you try to put all the money in one spot. So Susan and Dr. Mayerhofer and the accountant has worked out this, and I think this is our best scenario to move forward with. And if there is no questions about it, I would move that we approve it, the new rate structure.
So just to be clear, your motion is to approve the amended one that we got today in the email.
Correct.
The 4.99.
Right. And that gets us our ed fund at $1.83, which is gets it real close to the $1.84, which is the cap that the state sets on school districts. without going out for a bond referendum to change it. And our ed fund is where most of the money is at, so that's why it's so important. Our bond and interest is done just basically whatever the cost is. Same with IMRF. Say a few other ones that are, we have to, Social Security or liability and all that is just based on dollars. It's not a tax rate. It's just how many dollars you levy, and then they'll adjust the tax rate accordingly. So the ed fund's capped, the buildings fund's capped, transportation's capped, working cash capped, fire prevention is capped, and special ed's capped, and lease and purchase is capped. So those are the ones that are capped. So that's where you have to maneuver your dollars that you're levying to be able to achieve those numbers.
Mr. Lau, thank you very much for
So that's all I have.
reviewing this, working with us. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Gentlemen, questions? This is a great learning and growth opportunity. Does anybody have any clarifications needed?
I don't, and I will second Dale's motion.
All right, we have a maker of a motion to accept the tax levy as presented to us and amended this afternoon by Mr. Lau and seconded by Mr. Coleman.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Belkamp,
Yes.
Lau,
Yes.
Coleman, yes. Coons,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, guys
Okay.
and lady.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, item I, the reading program update is a discussion item. Dr. Mayerhofer, do you have some information for us?
Yes, I asked Susan to update the board. Her and Mrs. Grimsley have worked very diligently over the last week, and I believe, Susan, you are on here. Can you provide an update for the board?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, Susan.
All right, I emailed everybody a worksheet today on what I have learned. They have came out with a series 2, which is approximately $1,700 higher than series 1. And I sent the breakout, and I've worked with our reps to where we do not have to bulk the money until fiscal year 21, starting July 1st. Training and guides this year for a small amount of dollars. So the teachers we got it set up for the teachers to presentation of series 2, the new series. It just literally is much of a difference. And then if they want to, if they would rather go with series 2, then we'll come back to the board and say, ask you guys which way we need to go on purchasing.
So if I understood this correctly, the difference between the first version and the second version is less than $1,700, and correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, and the first version is their first version, literally, right? First rollout of this new curriculum?
Correct.
So I don't think we want version 1. Does anybody have an objection to approving the second version tonight?
I do not. That's the version I would go with too, Shelley. With looking at the cost difference, I don't think that we could go wrong spending the extra money.
But it just makes sense to me that they're going to have improvements. They rolled it out, they tried it, they worked with it. There's going to be improvement. So if no one objects to it, I think that we need to have Susan working with them on the newer one.
Okay. Okay. Well, Lori and I've got that set up for January for the teachers to view it, and we're going to get with them and kind of set their time frame that they want on the. There is 2 training schedules in the purchase. One's a 2-hour training, which gives them a whole overview of the whole system, and the other is like a refresher, which they could actually take in August if they want, or they can take it in May, right before they start able to have the online services.
So they are going to have an initial introduction to this at January, right?
Yes, the presentation.
Okay, because that was their request. And then when would the materials be available to them to begin planning for next year?
As soon as I send out the purchase order for the series they want, which you guys are okay with too, then they will ship us the teacher's guides, the hard copy teacher manuals that they need, and they'll work with that until June. Then we can get the online services scheduled. And really that is more rostering their students than anything. So they don't know who their students are anyway until that time of the year. So it works really well to push off that final large purchase then, and then we get everything scheduled like in paying for some of it in 21 and some of it in 22.
Makes sense to me, as long as it's providing enough time for the instructional staff to be able to plan for
split the
fall.
final payment.
One question,
They
and
should
that's,
be able to.
sorry about that. Question on the payment due dates. That shows the first payment due July of 2020. Since we're well past that, is that 41,000 going to be needed in January or February?
21 and 22. Sorry, Carrie.
Okay, so July of 21 is the first big payment, and July of 22 is the second big payment.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for all the work that you're doing to try to get this going for us. And thank you, teachers, for bringing this to us and for pushing us to move in this direction. I think that speaks volumes about where we want to go as a district. So, given direction, do we need to re-vote on that? Is anybody feeling a motion there? I just think that we just needed to clarify what we've already decided.
With it being under the dollar amount that Dr. Mayerhofer can approve, I think we're all right there, Shelley.
Okay, sounds good. That was my thought as well. I appreciate the clarification.
Do we have someplace in the records that record that we're going with version 2 so that it's recorded in the minutes or somewhere?
Thank you, Carrie. I will put that in my notes here that we are going to go with version 2. Yes.
All right, sounds good. All right, anything else for open session before I make a did someone say my name? No, okay. All right, we're going to be leaving this meeting to head over to a closed session for a while for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance of specific employees of the district, and also collective bargaining matters between the district and its employees or the representatives. We'll be back, and there will be action as a result of closed.
Shelley, I need to take a motion on that so we go into closed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to go.
I move we go into closed session.
Right. Dale made the motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Sound like anybody you want to write down. I think I heard Mr. Millville.
I got it. Shoemaker.
Yes.
Feldkamp.
Yes.
Lau.
Yes.
Coleman, yes. Coons.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Okay. Just for clarity, are we supposed to leave this one or pause it? How we do this?
Good question. I think, Steve, are you the driver of this one?
So it was my understanding that you all should have received a separate Google Meet from Ross. That would be the closed session. And then at the conclusion of executive session, we would return to this meet via Zoom and finish up with action as a result of closed as well as new business.
So do we log completely out of this one and then ask to rejoin?
I would recommend that.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, let's take about 5 minutes so everybody can go to the bathroom, grab a drink, whatever, and then begin logging into the other meeting, okay? And then we'll rejoin us when we're done.